gets hired, who gets promoted, whether we make a deal in a negotiation, whether you get the client in your business presentation, or who gets the second date, if you think about your personal relationships. All of these things, all of these very important relationships and important decisions depend on whether someone says the right thing or has failed to say the right thing.
This is Behavioral Science Toolkit, a series on behavioral science and its applications. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons below. We care about how others perceive us. We buy new clothes or go on diets to look good. We pretend to like books or movies that we've never seen or read to fit in or to seem smart. And we share photos of our vacations on social media to show strangers that our lives are perfect. Each of these behaviors can be classified as an impression management or self-presentation strategy, processes by which individuals attempt to control the impressions others form of them. But sometimes we just fail. We say the wrong thing or we don't say the right thing, and as a result, others leave with a negative impression of us. Luckily, we have someone here who studies the way we can leave negative impressions and how to leave positive ones.
My name is Ovul Sezer, Ovul Sezer, as we say in English. I'm an assistant professor at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I teach negotiations and decision-making at the business school, Flagler Business School, and I'm very interested in the social mistakes that we make. I study something that I call impression mismanagement and how we fail when we try to impress others, even though we think we are doing a good job. So, in a nutshell, that's me. And fun fact, I also do stand-up comedy. One of my favorite moments is at any conference or anything. Sometimes people would share their own experience of awkward moments, which would give a great idea for a research project. So I would love that too. We are all in this together.
I'm sure that everybody can easily recall an interaction that could have gone better. So if any come to mind during the video, share your awkward moments in the comments below or directly with Ovul using the contact info in the description, because we're all in this together.
You know, the more I studied this phenomenon, the more I realized there are actually so many different areas of life that gets impacted by these mistakes. And what do I mean by these mistakes? Let's say if I ask anybody, do you know what's the best way to self-promote? Do we know how to brag? No, we have some intuitions about it. We have some guesses and we do all sorts of things, even some sophisticated strategies. But do we actually really know what works? Probably not. What about compliments? Think about a time where you receive a compliment. It's a pretty awkward moment, maybe. Great moment, but a little. Well, as someone who gets lots of compliments, speaking of bragging, or giving a compliment may be awkward too. There's actually research on that, and we may shy away from that. And there are some weird compliments out there. If someone says, "Oh, you're funny for a young woman," what does that really mean? Do I say thank you, for instance? How do we give feedback? Like, for instance, think about this phrase, "I told you so." Right? It's such a universal phrase. Every language has that. Every language has that phrase, which I find fascinating. And we know how bad it is to hear that. Like when someone says, "I told you so," you never say, "Oh, thank you." Don't tell me that. Do we know how to network effectively, or is it just like full awkwardness all around and we're trying to navigate our world? So all of these different questions are under the impression mismanagement umbrella, and all of these areas are, I do study all of these behaviors. And what I find very interesting is that again, almost universally, we have a very similar intuition about what may work, but those intuitions may be misguided often. And I focus on the situations where it's actually misguided and it actually backfires.
One of the most interesting impression mismanagement strategies that Ovul studies is humblebragging, or an attempt to mask bragging with a complaint or trying to appear humble. To give you some examples, someone might say, "I have 2 master's degrees and I still can't get my tablet to work." Or,
"Shut the door on your way out. I'm about to receive a phone call from Quentin Tarantino. It's cool being best buds with him, but he can be a real chatty Cathy.
Or even,
why do people hit on me even when I'm in my sweatpants? I like the hair toss with this example.
humblebragging is very common on the internet and on social media, with an entire subreddit devoted to it. They're often funny or outrageous, yet compared to people who just straight brag or straight complain, humblebraggers are less liked and are perceived as less sincere and less competent.
So a lot of people think of these sort of almost outrageous humble brags that exist on Twitter, Facebook. But what we have shown is that yes, those humble brags exist, but it also happens in very high stakes situations such as job interviews, or it happens in the workplace as well. Like when people are asked, what's your biggest weakness question in a job interview? Not surprisingly, a lot of people say, oh, I'm a perfectionist. It's so hard to deal with. You don't even know being a perfectionist. Or I think the other popular one was, oh, I work too hard. I prioritize work above everything else. And the third super common category is, I'm too nice. People take advantage of me. Oh, no, that.
In fact, when asked what is your greatest weakness in a job interview, 77% of people answer with some form of humblebrag, leaving only 23% answering with genuine weaknesses. Our intuition to humblebrag is fairly strong, and yet when judging just by the answer to this question, people report significantly less interest in hiring humblebraggers. With so many negative social and practical consequences, why do we think humblebragging works, and why do we say things like "I told you so," or shy away from giving compliments, or use any of these awkward or negative social interactions?
And I think there are multiple reasons, and that's what we find in our data too. So first of all, there's the multiple audience problem, right? Like in the workplace, in our meetings, for instance, we have our peers, but we also have our superiors, let's say. Or on social media, you have your work friends, or you have your friends, or you have your connections who you want to impress a little bit and let them know about, your successes and accomplishments, achievements. At the same time, you have your childhood friends too. So everybody's together watching you almost, which creates this conflicting self-presentational goal problem. Sometimes, we want to be liked and respected at the same time. In every relationship, these two goals coexist, yet these two goals entail different strategies.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
We all care about being liked and respected, but those things are not compatible with each other, right? If I want to be liked, for instance, I would be maybe smiling and giving you compliments, ingratiation, let's say. But if I want to signal my competence, then that means I need to brag a little. I need to say, hey, I studied math back in the day, which is true, by the way. Just like inserting my brags here and there. So, but how about, like, what happens when we want both of these things at the same time? That's one reason why we make the mistake of humble bragging, for instance. That's one. Or sometimes the mistakes would stem from about feelings. Again, maybe giving a compliment makes you feel awkward, and that's why you don't see how much happy it makes the other side, let's say. Or I told you so. If we go back to I told you so, we know it's bad to hear it. No one would say, oh, I thought it would be helpful for them to learn from me and hear me say I told you so. No one ever says that. Yet being right feels so good, right? We can't let that go. So that's another reason. The lack of more negative feedback on social media makes it very likely. I think competitive environments make it happen. And I think, in fact, right now, especially in our remote world, there is some competition for attention, I feel like, right? How many followers do you have? How much time can I get? Like, if you think about it, even a video on YouTube that's more than a certain number of minutes, people are like, no, sorry, I don't have time for that. I can only, we are living in a world where everyone is competing for our attention. So it's very important to let other people know about your expertise and you don't have much time, right? You only have a short amount of time. And all these shortcuts lead to these mistakes.
With all the ways our social interactions can go wrong, it's a miracle any of us have any friends at all. And yet we do. So there must be some social strategies that work. Ovul has some suggestions to still be able to brag about yourself, but without all of the negative consequences.
So the best way to do it is always to remember that people actually can see the authenticity behind our brags. So how can we make it very authentic so that people actually join us and celebrate with us, share the joy and celebrate our success? So if you, I guess the best way, the most productive way is to find someone else to brag for you. That's an amazing, amazing strategy.
No way! My friend Randy here is the leading expert on koala bears in Australia. He's in town working with the Bronx Zoo.
You are? That is so cool. What is your favorite thing about koala bears?
Their meat is delicious.
Otherwise, if we are the one who needs to broadcast, combining your brag with positive emotions is definitely a positive thing to do. You know, I'm really happy about this. I'm so excited about this. Gratitude is even better because you're giving credit to your teammates, and that really signals some humility. Oh, I'm so happy we got this award. And I'm so, grateful to this amazing thing. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do it. That's definitely much more humble than these other strategies. And plus, you give the information of the brag and accomplishment as well. Creating context for your brags is a strategy that works. There's one reason why these social media examples are also a little more outrageous is because nobody needed to know. Right, like why did I feel the need to tell the world, oh, my Uber driver thought I'm 18? Like, no, there wasn't any reason to say that, yet people do it. So if there's a context, if there was like a question or something, it's a little better. But overall, I would say positive emotions, gratitude, creating more context, giving credit to your teammates or luck. And of course, finding a wingman, an intermediary to broadcast for us. That's very effective.
If you've made it this far, you've earned the right to brag, so share some of your recent accomplishments in the comments below using one of the strategies Ovul just shared. And thank you for watching. If you want to see more from Ovul, her research, or her stand-up routines, follow her using the info in the description.
By the way, for our audience who's interested in the academic side of these things, there are so many great papers, but I can recommend the classic book by Goffman, The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life. It's a marvelous, marvelous book coming from late 50s, I believe. So it will be introduction to all of these topics.